in this process, you're watching me right now, you have to turn the phone now. Now I'm approving your request.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Yeah. Wow. Finally.
All right. Finally.
Finally, you're here.
Yes, finally.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are on. Please go ahead, share this video. Share it as far as you can. Share it wide as you can. Okay, because we're going to discuss the challenges in South Africa. She's a South African, if you care to know. I'm a Nigerian. And we both love this country. We both love the people in the country. We both love the country. So when one bad thing is happening, when one bad thing is happening to South Africa, I feel pain for my people because I love South Africa. I love South Africans a lot. So when something bad is happening, I feel a lot of pain for that country. So hello Joyce, when this whole thing happened, this whole xenophobia stuff happened, I begin to question certain stuff. I wanted to know the truth about this, everything. So that's why I said, okay, I reached out to her. She said, okay, she agreed to the live show. Before we go into the talk, you're into business, right? You're into makeup?
Yes.
Okay. Can you talk about that?
Yes, that's correct. Well, I've been doing makeup for the past 2 years. I do professional makeup. I'm a makeup artist. And I also do it on my YouTube channel as well. But my YouTube channel, I'm trying to, I have a YouTube channel. But it's not where I want it to be as yet. I'm still working on improving my channel. So yeah, that's basically it.
So can you share your YouTube channel here, because you have a YouTube channel too?
Yes, okay. On the comment section. My YouTube channel is tomorrow. Let me try logging on my laptop as well. So all right, it's okay.
I will find your channel and I'll share it here, okay? I will find it here now. I will share it for people that are interested so that they can subscribe to your channel and help promote your business. She is into makeup, and if you see her Instagram, you see that she's very active too. With very
yeah.
And so how much time do you have for us?
I have about, let's see, about 40 minutes.
Okay, we'll go straight into the topic and discuss this without any delay. I'm trying to find your YouTube channel and share it so that people can go ahead to subscribe and follow you. And I'm trying to invite some friends too that want to join us, some South Africans that care to leave their opinion. Yeah, because it cannot be sideways.
Okay.
Okay, I'm receiving a message from some people. Apparently, some people are objecting that you shouldn't call it xenophobia.
They are rejecting?
They are objecting that it should be called xenophobia. That's why I titled it The Truth About Xenophobia. It wasn't a mistake when I put that title like that.
I definitely agree that it should not be called xenophobia. I think in the past years, it would have been a problem with xenophobia.
Okay.
But I think in the recent events, I don't think it's actually xenophobia, and it has to do more with criminology instead rather of xenophobia. Because what people don't see is that the same way they're treating the foreign nationals is the same way they treat South African criminals as well. It's the very same way.
Okay.
So it's not just foreign nationals that are affected by these types of crimes. It's also our local people as well. So yeah.
Why do you think the people take the law into their hands? Is it because the government is not effective? They don't trust the law enforcement? They don't trust the police, not the justice?
The law enforcement in South Africa, it's just really so bad. The government has not really done much to enforce law in South Africa. So people take it upon themselves. There's always mob justice that's happening. And over the last few weeks, there has been many cases of women being killed, women being raped, women being abducted, young children as well. And the same type of activity that you see has been happening with local citizens as well. So it's not only the foreigners that suffer from mob justice, it's also South African citizens as well.
And there is an increase in rape cases right now. One of the UCT students was raped. and I saw there was a mob justice on the man that raped her. His house was destroyed completely. What do you think about
Yes,
that?
they burned down his house. Yes, he was fortunate enough that he was caught, that he was under custody at the time, because I promise you, if he was not under custody, the community would have killed him themselves. But they managed to burn down his home because he raped and killed a young girl, and he was working at the post office. I mean, she was going to the post office. And she was raped and killed, and she was 19 years old. And it's been happening so often that people have had enough of it, and people are tired of this type of abuse happening to women. Week after week after week, you'll hear so many women raped, killed, children abducted, and people are really tired. Besides the raping, there's also been human trafficking, where kids have gone missing from their homes, from their schools, and people are living in fear. And I think it's that fear that is really fighting this type of mob justice and this type of lawlessness in our country.
Well, why is the crime increasing? Because here's an interesting statistic I want to share with you. Do you know that South Africa has the highest prison population incarceration in Africa? Despite the very little population, the country just has about like 56 million people, estimated 56 million, because we're talking about even the illegals that are here that are not documented, so that's just an estimated population, but the official population is 54 million. So, but there's an estimation that is up to 56 million, so we don't know the truth yet, because there are a lot of undocumented people, some people that haven't reported themselves to the authority, and a lot of immigrants from other African countries are trooping into the country for, greener pasture and other stuff like that. So when I saw the statistics, South Africa, even the US has as a democratic country, has one of the highest level of incarceration. When I say highest level, I mean 2 million people incarcerated in the US. When I say 2 million, it's like the population of Namibia, the whole of Namibia as a country. You pick an entire people and imprison them. So I went deeper to find out why so much incarceration in the US, and I discovered that the US has a very special system. Their prison system is so private in the sense that they privatize it actually. So it's like an industrial complex, the prison system in the US. Like an industrial complex. When you get locked up, you work for free for all some factories that produce shoes, all this Gucci, all these big factories that produce a lot of things. So once you're in prison, so there is incentive to imprison more people. So when I look at the South African statistics, I was like, do they have the same system with the US? Why is it? Okay, look at Nigeria, for example. There are almost like estimated 200 million people. But they have one of the lowest level of incarceration. In Nigeria is 60-something thousand people. And these people, they even get free most of the time. But the population in South Africa is increasing about 156 million and 66,000 people, I mean. So the thing keep increasing constantly. I was like, oh, this is too much, for such a very little country. High crimes you're seeing so many people. And one notion I want to correct. One notion, I said it, and my friends attacked me. I told them that I'm a Nigerian. I have lived in Nigeria all my life. But some of the sweetest people I've met, polite, gay, party goers, they just full of life. As South Africans, and my friends look at me and say, oh, you're not honest. You're such a sellout. You're in Nigeria. Why are you saying this? I said, why are you saying this when there's this attack? I say, yes, I am saying it because of what I've experienced. So I'm sharing my personal experience with them, and none of them wanted to listen. They said, no, you don't have to say this, and a lot of attack came in. So I want to really understand, what do you think? Why do you think is this high crime, in a very country with a very little population, having the highest incarceration rate in Africa? I want to understand. I don't know if you know anything about the prison system, if you can talk about that, but if you don't, that's okay. But I want to understand, what is motivation? Well, is it poverty? Is it lack of job? Is it the government? What is pushing people into this crime?
Yes. Well, one of the number one reasons that I can say is definitely the unemployment rate in South Africa is very, very high. And it's extremely high, the unemployment rate. And so that's one thing that affects the crime as well, is it's the poverty in the country. Although people look at South Africa and they see South Africa as the country of hope in Africa, as a developing country in Africa, the unemployment rate, unfortunately, is very high, and competition in South Africa is also very high. It's the lack. Yeah, it's also because of the lack of education as well. People have not educated themselves. They've stayed in poverty, and also within the rural areas as well. Education is just something that is really lacking. I don't know. It's also ignorance as well. And another thing that has also affected the crime in South Africa is the drugs. Children are taking drugs from the age of 13 years old. So can you imagine? They're not going to school. They're staying at home. So therefore, when they get older, they're not going to want to work. They're not educating themselves. There's so many schools, they drop out of school from a young age. So therefore, they're not educating themselves. So when they get older, they turn to quick and easy ways to make money, like crime, hijacking. Hijacking is extremely high in our country. But one of the biggest problems that we have in South Africa, it's sad, is the amount of young people that are on drugs. And I think that's also one of the main reasons why there's so much of crime in the country, is because drugs is everywhere. You can find drugs outside of the schools. When the children go to schools, they can easily access drugs. Any corner you go, you can. It's so easy for them to find drugs. So that's one thing that is destroying the country, is really the drugs. Because drugs, it really does something else to you. It makes you become someone you are not.
Yes.
And also with the recent events, as I'm saying to you, in an incident where a foreign national was selling drugs to a child who had just come out of school. He was in his school uniform, and the taxi driver was trying to stop the guy from selling drugs to this child.
Yes.
And this is where this whole war broke out, was because the foreign national shot the South African guy for trying to interrupt his business or whatever it is he was doing, and he was shot dead. And then this is what broke out this whole entire war, is because drugs in our system is really, 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 really bad. I think South Africa, it has one of the biggest problems in Africa when it comes to kids and drugs. It's very hard to raise our children in our communities because they are so filled with drugs. There's always shootings in the communities, there's always killings, there's so many drug lords as well. In the communities, and we are not saying that Nigerians or foreign nationals are the problem of the crime, but we cannot ignore the role that they play in the crime in South Africa. They do play a large role as well, but both parties are responsible for crime in South Africa. And what the people are tired of is not the foreigners, but they are tired of the amount of drugs, and they are tired of our children that are suffering from drugs. School children, I mean, 13, 12 years old, these children are taking drugs, and it's really a serious, really a serious issue. And I think what, as I was saying, that when we call it xenophobia, then we ignore the real issue that the communities are facing. One of the biggest issues is drugs in our communities, which are being sold by both foreign nationals and South Africans as well. So we're not only saying it's the Nigerians to blame, but what happens is when people see the Nigerians being affected by this mob justice, then it becomes all over social media. But when it's South African citizens that are affected by mob justice, then it's not publicized to the news outlets. The media doesn't show it to the world. They only show it when it's affected by foreign nationals. And even, you know, one thing that we constantly doing is we constantly say when South Africans think of foreigners, we automatically think of Nigerians. But it's not even, it hasn't even been confirmed that it was a Nigerian. It could have been a Tanzanian guy that shot the taxi driver. But when people hear foreigners, they automatically think of Nigerians for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Tell me why.
I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why, because the moment you think of foreigner, you think of Nigerians. Yet there are so many foreigners living in South Africa from all over Africa.
Let me share something quickly with you. I there is this idea that Nigerians are arrogant generally, and I am a Nigerian, but I tell you that I approve such idea because I've seen my people. I never knew that we were arrogant until I traveled outside Nigeria, because before I started observing the way we behave, the way other people behave in France, in Germany, in Tokyo, and I started observing the difference between us. I discovered that we are very outgoing, we're very approaching, we are so invasive, you know. The other day I was in a bus, public transit, and there was a lady seated beside me, and she picked her phone and she started speaking, and she was so loud on the phone, you know. So I was like, she was speaking, I knew that she was a Nigerian because of her accent and the way she was speaking and the language she was saying. But she was so nonchalant about her environment. She doesn't even care if the people that are seated beside her have been affected by the noise she was making and all those things. But I discovered that we don't really care about people. We think we're the middle, we're the center of the world. We just act anyhow. And then I was invited to a party to where Nigerians were here in Europe, in France. When I went to that party, all the guys were just dressed up and they started throwing dollars. They weren't using euro, actually. They were using dollars in the party, and they were just, where did they got that money? I don't know. But they were spraying dollars. So the thing comes off as being arrogant and being flamboyant, and a lot of people do not understand this, you know. So that this is why am I sharing this with you? Because there are allegations actually that most South Africans detest such behavior. Some are attracted by it, some find it, you know, ask them whether she wants to make talk that South African drug trade well out. Anyway, okay, yeah, Ijele, I'm seeing, yeah. Okay, I'll communicate it to her. He's asking a question. Where are the drugs coming from? That's what he wants to know. Yes, so there's this attitude that Nigerians are being flamboyant and arrogant at the same time. So they want to know, some people made that decision, no, maybe Nigerians are just acting that way. That is why South Africans are jealous of them. Or that's why anything that happened, Nigerians, because they like to show off, they like to do other stuff. So you had some relationship, I don't know, some encounter, do you know some Nigerians around you?
Sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
Do you know some Nigerians around you? Do you have some Nigerians as friends in South Africa?
Yes, I do know lots of Nigerians here in South Africa that are friends of mine as well. If that's your question, because I couldn't quite hear, but I do know. Hey, what was the question? Sorry, I'm not sure I quite heard. I mean, did you ask if I have friends that are Nigerian?
Yes. Do you have Nigerian friends? What can you say about their behavior? What can you say about the things you observe, the way Nigerians comport themselves?
Yes. Oh, wow. Yes, I do have Nigerian friends. In fact, my boyfriend was a Nigerian, and so I've been exposed a lot to the Nigerian community. And what I can say is that one thing I admire about Nigerians in South Africa is that they are very hardworking. They're very hardworking people. They're very good people. And as much as people see the violent side of Nigerian people, we also are exposed to the good side of Nigerian men. Because you'll find so many women that are with Nigerian men, they're taking care of their families, they're taking care of children that are not their children, but belong to other South African men, because it's also crisis that we face in South Africa where the men know how to be fathers, they don't know how to be providers for their families. But that's one thing I really admire with Nigerian men, is that they are very strong providers. They make sure they provide for their families. They are very loving, very giving, and very humble people as well. So we don't only get to see the bad side, but we also experience the good side of Nigerian men as well. And it's you know, it's something that is just, when I think about it, I mean, there are so many people who are friends with Nigerians. There are so many people who are in relationships with Nigerians in South Africa. And to tell you the truth, Innocent, most people don't have a problem with Nigerians in South Africa. What you see happening is gang-related crimes, because all the people you find that are burning down, that are protesting, these are gang-related people. These are thugs. But generally, it's not the general citizens of South Africa that are doing these things, because most people don't have a problem with Nigerians in South Africa, but it's organized crime, it's thugs, it's people with hidden agendas that cause this violence that we see, but it's not the general members of the society or the citizens, because most people honestly really don't have a problem with Nigerians. Most of us don't. Yeah.
There were allegations, actually. There were a lot of allegations. Before we go further, I want to make this clear. That first of all, you have to understand the background of South Africa, the history, what happened, why South Africa is a country that it is today, and why it's developed up to this level. You have to understand the exposure to the European settlers that settled in South Africa. You have to understand the background of the country and what they went through, the trauma. I told a friend of mine, I said, look, apartheid wasn't a very charming thing. It wasn't very charming. And you have a situation, there's a crisis right now in South Africa, a crisis of broken family. And you end up with teenage pregnancy too, kids in high school, 14, they're getting pregnant. It's common. So we need to understand why this thing is this kind of thing you will never see it in Nigeria. You never see teenage pregnancy very low. But if you get pregnant as a teenager and you're not married in Nigeria, you're done. Your family, they might even disown you. So there's that cultural stuff that you never get pregnant until you're married. So marriage is valued a lot. But there's this crisis right now in South Africa that we have to understand the origin of all these things. We have to understand what apartheid did to the entire general population, education. I spoke to some South Africans, me as a Nigerian, I even know the history of South Africa more than some of them. When I was telling them about certain stuff, they were looking at me, they were like, really? Is that it? Is that it? You could see that ignorance, they would explain that ignorance, about their country, about their history. In fact, some South Africans, some black South Africans actually believe that the Zulus, for example, the Bantus, the so-called Bantus, that the only people that we are occupying in Southern Africa, we are the Bushmen and the Khoisans and all those things. They actually believe that part of history. And I told them that, no, don't be deceived. You guys have been occupying this land for thousands of years before the Europeans arrived here. They said, no. They believe this because the history books in the school taught them that and all those things. So they're African. Okay, what I want to say, I don't have anything against the white population of South Africa. South Africa has a population of almost 4.5 million white South Africans, and they have like almost 73,000 Jews, one of the largest settlements of Jews in Africa. I don't have anything against the white population in South Africa, nothing against them. They are very brilliant people, very resistant, they work very hard, to develop that country. So what I want from them is this: work together with the black South Africans, provide employment, provide jobs, and let this country progress. Because when South Africa progress, when South Africans, I heard something, they were complaining about minimum wage, they were complaining about wages, workers' wages. I said, pay these workers very well, because once you pay them well, they will buy what you produce. The white farmers will in turn progress, their own business will grow. You can't allow part of the country to just like that. Now the white South Africans have become part of the historical aspect. Their ancestors bled in the country. They died. They fought for the land. They fought the Anglo. I'm talking about the Anglo-Boer War. They fought against the British colony. They told them to leave the country. So they are so integrated into the country system with the South Africans. So remain in that country, work to develop the country, but no. So I don't have anything against this country. What I'm saying is this: South Africa went through a very turbulent period in history. Let's go ahead and share this video, please, and invite your friends, okay? I'm talking to our viewers. South Africa had a very nasty history of apartheid. And we're seeing some of the symptoms right now. Teenage pregnancy, as I'm saying, broken family, and the men are becoming, it's affected the men, it's affected the family. So the problem is this: after the apartheid ended 24 years ago, let's say, 25 years ago, 1995. Now, the problem is this: there was no therapy, let me say. There was no collective therapy. There was no healing. For the people that were traumatized during that period, there was no healing process. None of them were counseled. None of them saw a therapist. None of them were counseled. So there is that suffering. There is that agony, that was transferred. So that's we can, with a high rate of crime, you can see the reason why that crime rate is still there. Because a lot of family are traumatized. We've seen increase in rape cases, we have seen attacks, we have seen a lot of these things. So even the South African prison population is a proof that some of those trauma are not yet healed. All what happened was that forgive, 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 and forgive. That was done. Some people weren't that much affected, some people were affected. And we're seeing the symptom today. You know, and they were miseducated to hate themselves, to tell them the black is ugly, but light skin. You know, it's only South Africa you see that classification of color. You know, they tell you that this one is color, this one is black, this one is, you know, this one they don't. There's a high level of classification. You, if you go to US, if you're in South Africa, they might classify you as a colored person, but if you go to US, they classify you as black, or maybe any lighter skin person, they will say you're black in the US. So it's not the same thing. So it shows you the level of education and misinformation that went on in South Africa. So after the apartheid, there was no therapy, there was no counseling. A lot of people were left with trauma. A lot of families that lost their husbands. A lot of families that were incarcerated. A lot of people were abused. Some husbands leave home never to come back again. You know, some men, they leave their a lot of children today some of them do not even know their fathers. The whole system was broken.
Yes.
So the country is gradually healing, is coming up. So it explains the level of prison, the high incarceration rate in South Africa right now. So we need to understand this historical perspective. And so we need to identify where the problem is coming from. It's historical, it's economical, and it's political. South Africa, immediately after the apartheid, they had political independence where the black majority, let me give you this example. Okay, let's say 54 million population in South Africa, 54 million. Now, 4.5 million are white, and 80% of the population are black, colored. We have like 40,000 Chinese, they said, in South Africa, Indians, and all sort of group of people that find themselves in South Africa. So that's why it's called a rainbow nation. So where you find different countries, different group of people that come to settle South Africa for economic reasons. Now, after the apartheid was ended in 1995, am I correct? 1995, 1994. When did it end?
1994. Yes, 1994.
1994. It ended in 1994. After the apartheid was ended, that was when South Africa, black South Africans had political freedom. That was when certain colonial rules, certain segregation rules were changed, but it didn't change at once. It was a progressive. Even now in South Africa, there are areas where you go that you won't even find black people. There are even some segregated communities. They call it the Orenas, for example. A land that there is some kind of group of Volkids, some kind of group of nationalists, white nationalists that created a land for themselves, therefore just for white people. So we have to understand South Africa from the historical perspective, where they came from, the trauma they're still living, why the high crime, why people are being raped, why so many families are broken, why teenage pregnancy. We have to understand that perspective, and why the blacks that were miseducated, misinformed about their history, why they hate themselves, why they hate why they hate other Africans. So we need to understand it from the historical perspective, understand it from the economic perspective, that South Africans, black South Africans today, they do not have economic independence. Even though they do have majority political independence, black people are in the parliament, they dominate, the black man is the president. You know, all the political positions we are occupied by black people, a lot, majority of the political position. But you have to understand that 80%, apparently, 80%, they said, blacks are 80% of the population of South Africa. But 80% of the land, 85%, they said, is controlled and owned by few white minority. You know, when we talk about, when we say white minority, we're talking about...
Exactly.
We're talking about the game reserves, we're talking about some reserves, we're talking about some resorts, we're talking about, you know, all the zoos and so many tourist sites, we're talking about estate, we're talking about apartments being owned by them, where a black man has to get lodged to pay rent to be lodged in it. So you see stadiums, all the business centers, you know, all the beaches and a lot of things. So 80% of this, the economy is being governed and controlled by few minorities. So this is the point. Understand South Africa from historical perspective, economic perspective, and political perspective. Even though black South Africans have gained that political independence, the economic independence is still being hijacked by the few minorities. Let me not talk too much. I will allow you to chip in into this if you have something to say.
All right. I'm going to chip in because I just have about 10 minutes left. I'm innocent. Yeah, what you brought out some really, really valid points, and I'm glad you mentioned about the white minority that are still benefiting from the country, and also I think an important part that South African people are not taught, and is the history of everything, not just the history of South Africa, but they are not taught. We are only taught about the heroes like Mandela and other heroes from South Africa, but we are not taught about other foreign national heroes that really have played an important role in the freedom of Black South Africans. And it's sad, unfortunately, that nobody knows those heroes. Nobody knows their names. Nobody knows what happened. Nobody knows that they were foreigners and that they assisted our country when we were going through a lot. Nobody knows that they helped. They tried to raise funds for our country. They tried to harbor our country to fight for our independence. But we don't hear of those heroes. Even I myself, I'm guilty of that. I don't know them all because we were not taught about those people in school, in our history. We were only taught about Shaka Zulu. We were only taught about Nelson Mandela and Steve Biko. We were never taught about what was happening outside of South Africa and how other African countries assisted in our independence. We never heard of those stories. Yeah.
That is.
So I definitely think that is. I definitely think that also plays a role as well in xenophobia, is the lack of history, ignorance, and it's because people just don't understand history. And like you said, South Africa is a broken nation that is still healing from the effects of apartheid, and it's really, really painful. And also, I've seen a comment, but somebody commented about why don't the police intervene? I'm innocent. I can tell you that the police themselves are corrupted. They are so corrupt. In South Africa, all you need to do is to bribe someone to get away with it. If they're not corrupted, then they are afraid also, because with all the drugs that are happening, the policemen are afraid of these drug lords themselves, because they know what these people are capable of. They just go into communities and start doing random shootings. So even the police are afraid of these thugs. Even as you said, people in South Africa have even lost respect for police officers. You'll find that even now the foreign nationals are now retaliating and attacking policemen, because policemen are really corrupt in our country.
Wow.
There's just no other way to put it, but that is the truth. We cannot trust policemen. There's just no two ways about it. They are very corrupt themselves, and they are part of the crime in our country as well.
So what do you think will be the solution now to the national crisis that we have now? We see that historically, South Africans are ignorant of their history. They're ignorant of the people that participated in the Brexit.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're ignorant of their general history about pre-colonial Africa. Those things are not being taught in the schools, so they are completely ignorant about that. And economically, we have seen that South Africans are deprived. They don't even have right. They don't even have access to land. They can't even farm because the land is being controlled by some few minorities.
Exactly.
So politically, even though politically they have that independence, what I blame the ANC is this. I thought about them creating an institution of nation building, so that before any person can become a member of the party, they have to have an objective where they have a plan, a 10 years program for the country, where they projecting to see the country in the next 10 years. But apparently, immediately after Thabo Mbeki went down, the country slid into depression. I mean, Zuma came in, he was somewhat positive, but that was when everything started, without the corruption scandal that came in. Now, Cyril Ramaphosa again. So a lot of things, we started seeing the countries now. We started seeing the imbalance in the system. So how many minutes do you say we have remaining?
Yes. Sorry.
How many minutes do you say we have remaining?
How many?
How many minutes do you say we have remaining?
Oh, I have about 7. Let's say it's about 7 minutes remaining.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'll round up so that we'll hear final words from you. So we have seen the political aspect of it. So right now we know what I want to correct to these people. What I want to correct, that this thing is not racial based. It's an economic problem. This xenophobia, this act, this attack, this violence, this crime that we're seeing is economically motivated. The people are poor, the people need feeding.
Yes.
And the only solution to it is not to boycott South Africa, because the country is going to be hurt more, because I've seen the Nigerian government and some other countries are boycotting although there is a way of waking the South African government to take action, but it's going to hurt the country the more, because employment has to be provided. The people need to be employed, they need to work, So it's an economic problem. It's a serious, both socio-economic crisis that is going on right now. So you see South Africa, broken family, teenage pregnancy, drugs crisis, and all those things. So it's economy. You need to give these people a job. You need to help them to be able to live their life, So what do you say? What do you think? What do you think is the solution to this problem completely as your final report?
I definitely, the solution is that we have to have leaders, and not just South Africa, Africa as a whole. I think our leaders are failing Africa. Our leaders are an example of the people in our country. And our leaders need to do more. They need to work hard to make sure that we live in a country that is stable, in a country that is safe for our children in the future. And as much as we can look at our leaders, I think we also have we have an individual responsibility for our countries as well. And not just South Africans, but I think Nigeria as well. It breaks my heart when the Nigerians as well are fighting with South Africans are fighting with Nigerians, when in actual fact, we should both be working together to try and eliminate the crime in South Africa, not just in South Africa, but in other parts of Africa as well. Nigerians should stand with South Africa and say, look, we do not support our people harming women and children. As much as South Africans should stand and say we do not support our people harming innocent lives, we have to stand together and say that enough is enough, because our leaders are failing, and then what else can we do when our leaders are corrupted themselves? And it's not just South Africa, it's all over Africa as well. So we really have to work together and to make sure that Africa is a rich, because Africa has so much of potential to be a great nation, to be a great country, but because our leaders are failing, like you said, we lack in so many ways, that we are really slipping, and we are really failing, and the leaders have really failed their people. So I'm not sure how we're going to move forward from this. I'm not sure how our leaders are going to ensure the safety and eliminate poverty and crime in South Africa. Yesterday, where Cyril Ramaphosa says that there were thousands and thousands of women who went to protest outside of the Parliament House. And it's only now that he's saying that he's going to, people who rape women are going to get life in prison, they're not going to get any bail. But all along, people who have been murderers, they get off with, a few years and they're out. The South African law system is a total joke. There's no really harsh punishments for people who commit crimes in our country. It's now that he's saying, okay, they're going to lock them up, they're going to give them life sentences, they're not going to give parole, but it's something that he's still working on. He hasn't said it's going to be true. It says he's working on it. So I'm not sure what are our leaders going to do about it. But I think moving forward, South Africans and Nigerians, I really think that we need to come to a peace treaty. We need to not be ignorant. We need to see what the situation is. We need to see what is the root of xenophobia. And I'm not saying that what South Africans are doing is right, because you see that innocent people are paying for the crimes of that they have not committed. They are paying for the sins of people who have committed these crimes, and it's really really sad. And my prayer is that Africa will work together, and we will not be against each other going forward.
I like your point, because you unconsciously made mention of certain stuff that I would also like to describe it as structural reform instead. You talk about the justice system, you talk about the force system, and you also talk about the government system. So the government, they need to restructure some of their institutions, they need to restructure the justice system, where people who commit crime need to get sanctioned. This high rate of rape, killings and all those things, you know. So the reform needs to be coordinated, and not just that. The best way to curb crime is to provide people the opportunity that they won't even have the incentive to go into crime. Because when I watched this in the public video and the attack that was going on, I saw people looting stores, and I told myself, I said, no, these individuals are looting because they are poor, because they don't have food to eat. If they have food, rich South Africans don't go to loot stores because they have enough in their houses already. You know, they wouldn't need to, they wouldn't even attack a Nigerian that has a petite business, you know, trying to start doing, because they have the money, they have the food. Instead, they'll just look at you, they'll just smile, they'll say, come on, we will buy your product. So what the real problem is, an economic crisis right now in South Africa. We have to get this point straight. It's an economic crisis, and it's reflecting psychologically. It has nothing to do with jealousy about Nigerians. It has nothing to do with fear of foreigners. It's not even xenophobia. It's an economic crisis. It's a symptom right now. And I want to say this to the white population that are watching. Maybe they might watch at the end of the day. They might watch this video, or they might watch what is going on right now in Africa, that blacks are killing blacks, that African countries are killing African countries. They might laugh at this situation right now, but it's coming to bite you soon. This attack will come to you if you don't wake up and do something about this country. You are sitting on the economy. You're monopolizing everything. You don't want to provide employment to the youth. You don't want to participate in growing this country. You are laughing. You think you're secure in your houses. You think because you have the land, because you have the money, because you have the business, you think you're secure. No. When they are done with Nigerians, when they are done with other African countries, when they are done attacking each other and there's nobody to attack, they will come for you and your family. And I'm telling white South Africans, they don't have any land. Europe will not take them because Europe is not safe either. America will not take them because America is not safe either. Africa is your land. South Africa is your land. You spent 400 years to build this nation. Exactly. You have to work to build it. You have to remain there and work for the interests of your country. So you have to provide solutions. Don't laugh now, because if you laugh, it's coming back to bite you tomorrow. So those people that are in position to do that, you also made mention of responsibility. I want to talk about this. There are 4 responsibilities every citizen of every country have. 4 responsibilities. First of all, you have your civil responsibility as an individual, a citizen of the country. You have your economic responsibility, you have your political responsibility, and you have your social responsibility. So white South Africans need to fulfill these 4 obligations. And blacks community need to understand where they are lacking, what they need to do to help grow this community. The white South Africans, you need to understand your economic responsibility and fulfill it. You need to understand your political responsibility and fulfill it. You need to understand your social responsibility and fulfill it. So all these 4 aspects are to be fulfilled by every individual, both the white and the black. The moment something is lacking, so economic reform, political reform, the structural reform of the system, and the responsibility of every citizen in South Africa that needs to be done for this country to go. South Africa cannot develop alone without other African countries. We have seen a lot of South African companies in Nigeria that are making billions of dollars and they're paying tax back. They're repatriating their money back to South Africa to grow the economy. So if imagine South Africa not connected to other African countries, the country will go down and chaos, more crisis will come up, more unemployment will come up, and the white who think that because they have money, because they have the land, they think they are safe. No. These individuals will come after you. They will come after your daughters. They will come after your children. That land you're trying to protect, you won't even find it. That future of your children you're trying to secure for them, you won't even be able to keep it. You can't even run to Europe. So you have to do something right now. You have to come to the table and discuss this as a national crisis, as an economic crisis. Forget about race, forget about xenophobia, forget about anything. This is an economic crisis, and it has to be dealt with and handled that way. So thank you so much, Tamara. It's been very, thank you for accepting to come for this live. And the people that are watching us, leave your comments, leave your opinion. We're going to see what we have to say. This video is going to be shared on so many platforms. It's going to be shared on Facebook, on YouTube, and other platforms that are there. So go on. I'm going to share her link, the link to her YouTube on the comment section, so you can subscribe to her YouTube channel. She's into makeup. She's an amazing.
And also, Innocent, before I go, I also think that it's very important that people don't follow false news, because there's been a lot of, especially on social media platforms, there's a lot of false news, a lot of false videos, and I think this is what is hyping people up, because they are seeing these videos of people being laying dead on the streets. And these videos are not even videos that they're not what's happening in South Africa. These are footage from other people. So I really think that false news and false videos that are doing their rounds on social media, on platforms like WhatsApp and Instagram, we really should not focus on those type of videos. If you haven't seen it on the television, on the news, like your news channels, then you should not believe any type of news that you hear on social media, on WhatsApp, especially, because it's false news. All these videos of people that are dead, that are burning on the streets, those people are not even from South Africa. So I think that people must be very careful of false news and false videos, and should not hype themselves up with these videos as well. And just to end the conversation off, the Nigerians should also remember that we don't have anything against them. It's not the entire population of South Africa. It's just these lawless citizens. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me, Innocent.
Thank you. Yes.
For me,
important points. There are false information, like she said, false video are circulating. One of the video that I saw a video of people jumping from a store that is burning. That video is not South Africa completely. It should be around Bangladesh, Pakistan, or India. That video, I saw that same video last year. I saw it 3 years ago. There's another video. There's another video of a guy being burnt. You know, there was fire burning and they were kicking him. That was an old video. That was a mob justice.
Yes, I saw some videos of Boko Haram. One of the videos where the people were burnt on the street, that was actually a video that was done by the.
She's frozen. Anyway, I think she's having a network problem. It's okay. So thank you so much. Thank you to all our viewers. Please go ahead.